Hi, Celine here, and welcome to my channel. Warning signs, breast cancer, a personal perspective. That's what I want to talk to you about today. If you're new to my channel, my name is Celine. I've gone through breast cancer myself. My channel, I set it up really to share content that would support and guide anyone who is going through something like breast cancer or some other challenge, and providing the tools and the learnings from my own life to help you go on and out the other side and live a life that you love and that's on purpose. So that's what I want to address today. Warning signs, breast cancer. I prefer to think of it as guidance or direction or the universe getting your attention. I do think the words of Einstein, I think they're attributed to Einstein, but I like the thought or the words, which is we choose whether we live in a hostile or a friendly environment, universe. So that's our choice, really. How do we want to view the world? I prefer, that was one of my biggest lessons, I suppose, coming out of breast cancer was I now look at life as happening for me all the time, not to me and I'm a victim. And I really do, or I really try on the difficult days if I'm not seeing it, and it has changed everything. So firstly, I would say, rather than using, and I'm not talking physical here, I'm not medically qualified, so it's not from that perspective. I want to share from my own personal experience, when I look back now, what were the things that were showing up in my life that were telling me, or nudging me to take action and to do something. So by sharing those, I hope that it will help you reflect on your own life and maybe what's going on for you right now. Doesn't mean if you're having a difficult time, it's going to lead to cancer, not at all. But as I said, that's my experience. We all have challenges, and I really believe we are always getting warning signs or nudges, I should say, and direction and guidance, because the universe is a supportive, it's what we came from. How could what we came from want nothing but good for us? That's how I look at life now. How could it want, us to go astray or to suffer? So yes, that's before I wander off on a tangent. So that's how I sort of have looked at my own experience, and I just want to share some of the guidance or nudges that I got, and as I said, they may help you reflect on your own life. The first thing, and it's only really in the last few years this has really come to me, the overwhelming feeling, I could say, having come through cancer, was that I was suppressing who I was versus expressing. And I really, for me, I see that the cancer growing in my body was really a symbol of that suppression of who I am and who I came here to be in the world. And because I wasn't letting that out, which I wasn't, I was afraid to. I sort of felt I would be laughed or judged. It had become just a pattern for various reasons, and, you know, traumas and lots of things that would have come up in my life, and my own feelings about myself. I suppressed a lot of who I was. I didn't really know who I was, but I just know by the time I got sick and was diagnosed, might sound strange to say, but it was a relief. I felt like I was absolutely going to explode, like was holding so much inside. So the greatest joy as a result of that, now that experience, is expressing myself in the world. So I would ask, just maybe look at that for yourself. I had no idea, we all absolutely have to have an outlet for expressing ourselves in whatever way that sort of shows up for you, and you'll know by how you feel. A second little nudge, I suppose, I was getting was that it was time for change, particularly in my work. That was only one aspect of it. I had loved my job for many years, and I've talked about this before. I worked with teenagers and I just loved it. going out visiting. I love the flexibility of my job. I was on the road a lot. It was busy, but I loved it. But a point arrived when it began to feel very stressful, and I began to feel very, very burnt out. And I began to feel very limited in, what I could offer them. I felt that there was something inside of me that wanted to support them. I wanted to say different things. I often did. Then was the party line, let's say, and no reflection on my job. It was just, I knew it, and I applied for different jobs, and they didn't work out within the same organization because that wasn't really the answer either, and I didn't know. So just, it's even just to reflect on that. I know we can sometimes end up in situations because of finances and different things, but it is worth reflecting on what is it, that is not being fed inside of you. Like, I knew at the time that I wanted to be talking to teenagers in a much more holistic way about their life, but my role was very limited to, a specific aspect, which is around the more formal education. I also felt that very limited and restricted by the hours and the structure of the way I was working. So that was another thing. And it doesn't mean you have to have all the answers. It's just to start even reflecting, what's going on here, what's not being met, what need in me is not being met. And it's the first steps. And I truly believe this is what I try to practice every day in my life now, is to ask. I never asked and asked, show me. Ask God, whoever you look to show you what are your next steps. So that's the second point. The third is around, I felt a lot of, in the few years just before I was diagnosed, I was feeling a lot of stress as well, and a lot of overwhelm. And I had a car accident 2 years before I was diagnosed. So that surely, and I literally hit a wall, or close enough to hitting a wall, but I literally came to an abrupt standstill, and I was so stressed that day. But I had been living like that. I knew it. I could feel the hormones, these stress hormones, even if I couldn't articulate it, just flooding through my body constantly. There was no let up. And, even from reading about it, I understand now that the fight or flight hormone is meant to be, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just we're not meant to be living in that state all the time. And, we're activating, as I understand it, our sympathetic nervous system. And we also need to be coming back into recharge and rest in our parasympathetic nervous system. And that never happened for me. So that, even that level of, I was finding it very hard to concentrate, all of those, I suppose, symptoms that go with stress and overwhelm. So just maybe to reflect on that in your own life. Is that something that's coming up? I know we all feel stress, but again, I'm just pointing these out, that like if there's a few of these going on in your life, or you're finding it's been a very long-term or ongoing situation, it is something maybe to start looking at addressing, and at least considering. Another aspect of my life, and another, I'll say, guidance, or I'm not going to say warning sign or direction I was getting, was around my whole self-care, self-love, which I didn't have a lot of, and I didn't even know what that meant. And one sign of it was a lot of difficult relationships started showing up in my life. And it was like the more I sort of, I wouldn't say ignored, I didn't really know what to do. So I don't say this in any way to be judgmental, because we all have to go through what we go through. And I did the best I could at the time, but I had some very challenging relationships. And rather than reflecting on what was on inside of me, and why I was allowing it, and, the damage it was doing to me, I just kept trying to fix them and go outside, and what was I doing wrong. And I had one particularly very, very difficult one just before I was diagnosed. And thank God that relationship or situation in my life has ended. But I know that came around the time of the car accident. So they were getting closer together and more intense. And I think that's another, as long as we can't keep burying, whether it's some trauma inside or something we're ignoring, it will keep coming back only to support us, not to punish us. This is just to support us in moving into the life, another version of us, a higher version of us, and what we came here to do. I had no balance in my life, so that's probably as well another. I've said that in other ways, but the whole give and take and input of energy and output was just non-existent. It was just all one way, and I lived alone at the time, even though I had some good friendships. I didn't have a great balance of energy coming back into me, and I didn't really, it was back again probably to my own self-worth, that I didn't feel deserving of it, but I sort of kept to myself because it was like old patterns in my life. When I had been hurt, I found it easier just to withdraw and isolate. So I sort of give off the impression, I say it often, I was like an actor in my own life. I mean, I was an expert, a really good actor. I should, maybe another profession I should have gone for. But my God, I could act like I was fine, and I think it surprises people when if I even talk about it now, because I just had mastered. But there comes a point where you can't keep suppressing. Um, and the other big area is, well, not the other big area, the other thing I was getting, I had become very disconnected from myself, and I think that's the nudge I was getting. I was out there in the world, and I was also in my head all of the time, 90 miles, 1,000 miles an hour, so disconnected. Found it very difficult to come back into my body, back into my heart, to really sit with myself, to know myself. No idea of, what was going on there and what I really felt. Like I remember going to a healer at some stage for a session at some point in those few years when I was feeling very stressed. And the whole topic of rejection came up, and he said to me, this isn't about anyone rejecting you. This is about rejecting yourself. And I know that because, in allowing some of the situations and relationships in my life, I was rejecting myself. So, yeah, they're the six of what I would say, I won't call them, I'll say guidance or direction, that or signs that may show up in your life. There can be many others to show you, time for change is needed. So just to finish this video, I hope some of those points, I hope you don't necessarily experience all of them, but if they are going on for you, I would say it's all for your highest good. This is all to support you. So I'm going to just finish up by asking you a number of questions, maybe to consider and reflect upon, and they might help you see if you need to take some action or change in your life. So the first one is just to take a look at your life and say, how is the universe trying to get your attention? Is there any aspect of your life that you're feeling you're getting a nudge, or you're getting a repeated? Often if it's repeated and it's getting a little bit more intense, it's usually, yeah, this is something you need to listen to. So just to start thinking about where in your life might that be happening. Also, where in your life are you feeling out of balance? Is there a specific area? Is it everywhere? Is there, like, in your job, in your work, is there some frustration, like what was going on for me? Nothing wrong with the job. It was time for change. Are there certain relationships in your life that maybe you need to look at? The relationship with yourself, even in terms of, your time outside of work. How are you expressing yourself? I'd mentioned that at the beginning. Do you have an outlet for expressing yourself creatively? Do you need to get support or guidance around it? I'm very happy if you're someone particularly who's going through breast cancer, please do reach out to me. I'd be very happy if there's something, if you're struggling. I've done a lot of work in that area on myself, and I really that's what I want to do, is guide and support others who may be going through it. So if there is something in particular, but it is important, I went to many different people at different stages and still do, as I need support, because we're not an island, even though I often try to live like I was. And then, do you feel a sense of purpose, or that you're having an impact in the world, in your life, like in whatever you're doing? If anyone looked at me now, I have to say pretty much every day. I can't say I always feel I'm having an impact, because days where it just, yeah, doesn't feel like that. But I have a sense of very real sense of purpose. And as I said, that's why I set up the channel, because I really feel that my life experience, it didn't happen just by accident, and that my purpose is coming out of that. Everything I experienced, I always knew has to be of some value, and have to have been for a reason. And I believe that is to support and help anyone who's going through what I went through, and to come through it and live a better life, and a happier life, and a joyful life. And then the final question is, have you, yeah, I think I said that, having a way to express yourself, but I'll repeat it, because that to me was this, if I was to summarize really the whole thing with breast cancer, was suppressing me to expressing me. And we are here to express ourselves at our highest potential, really, really. And that's always going to be expanding. So thank you for watching. I'll finish it here. I hope it's been helpful. As I said, I don't think I said it at the beginning, but if you haven't already and you like the content, please like and subscribe. I'll be sharing regular information and content all the time. I've a free guide, 6 signs you're getting a spiritual wake-up call, which you can click on the link below to get. Also, in relation to the topic I'm talking about here today, I've written a book on it, and it's Gifts from the Devastation, which is the journey that I went on pre-breast cancer, burnt out, without purpose, empty, through that diagnosis and out the other side of it, to living a life I love and on purpose, and that I am creating in every moment, and we all are. So that book is available to pre-order. You'll see a link below. It's been published at the end of March. I'm also recording an audiobook, and that's going to be available very soon to pre-order, and I'll let you know when it is. I've recorded some extracts on my channel, and I'll be putting up some more, so you can take a listen and see if it's something that you're interested in. So thank you very much for watching, and take care.